Hey, I'm Josh, and I'm working on a game called Mansion. Since my last devlog, I developed even more tools and finally got onto designing some levels and stuff. The game begins in the player's home, where you will quickly learn how to use the controls of the game. The dude lives in a pretty large and fancy house with multiple floors. Maybe he's a doctor or something. I'll never tell. The story shall remain a secret till you actually get to play the game. I created all the props you see in Blender. I like how this TV turned out. It uses my standard lighting system with a custom light image in the shape of the TV's glow. Then I use a simple script to change the color over time. Doorways are finally working the way I always wanted them to. When you click on them, the dude walks up to the door and grabs onto the handle. When you drag the mouse, the dude appears to open and close the door. When the door is open enough, you can use the arrow keys to move the dude through the doorway, so you can choose which side of the door he stays on when it closes. This all adds up to you being able to run towards a closed door, then use the mouse to open the door, then close the door, with the player ending up on the other side without even having to let go of the direction key. You may have also noticed that I split off the player's arm images from its torso, allowing them to animate and rotate independently. Specifically, it allows the player to actually grab onto the door handle or anything else that's grabbable. Previously, everything was the wrong scale, doorways were too big and the player was too small. I readjusted all of it to be more realistic and consistent, which also helped a lot with the player actually being able to reach the door handle. To help avoid this problem in the future, I added a little tool to my growing pile of Unity add-ons to easily measure the size of anything in the scene viewport. I also created a thing called Sprite Polygon, which can be used to easily fill a polygon with a repeating image, and it even comes with a Bezier curve tool and an option to make the edges fade out. This is an important tool to have because my game has all sorts of shapes of spaces that I need to fill with floorboard or grass textures, for example. It's also useful for making drop shadows. I created a complete system for saving and loading the game. Basically, when I create an object with a state that needs to be saved, because for example the thing will move about during gameplay, I just add my save description component to it, and add the properties to it. Then I can use the generate button to give it a globally unique ID. It can handle saving and loading properties of basically any type, and anything it can't do yet can easily be added. Just before the game is about to be saved, or when a scene is unloaded, it goes through all the save descriptions in a scene and records the requested property values to a little in-memory database. Then it writes them to a file. When a save game or scene was just loaded, it writes all of the properties back to the objects with the appropriate IDs. I wanted a simple way to add scripting to a game object without having to buy or use a fully fledged node system, so I created a tiny extensible scripting language that looks kinda like a Lisp. I like to think about the language as a configuration file for a node system. Then when the game starts, it compiles the code directly into a bunch of in-memory node objects that reference game objects in the scene, and also stores reflected getter and setter functions. This took a couple of days to make, and it was fun, so I'd call that a win. I also totally reorganized most of the files in my project, and moved about most of the objects in all the scenes. The whole game world is now represented by a bunch of activation regions, all of which are present no matter where you are in the game. When something called a scene viewport enters an activation region, the scene for that region is asynchronously loaded and the save game system automatically restores the scene's state. When the player walks down the stairs to another floor, the player is simply teleported several kilometers to the left or the right where the next floor is located. The scene activation regions at the destination floor will already be activated because a copycat scene viewport is placed at the destination location as you walk down the stairs. That's all for now. Thank you for watching. I'm gonna keep making videos regularly, so subscribe and like this video if you want to see more.